Imagine you're strolling in a grocery store, picking up your favorite snacks. What if I were to tell you there's a 1 in 10 chance that the item you're picking up is either mislabeled or misrepresented? According to CBS News Texas, this 10% is worth a staggering $15 billion worth of food annually. The FDA should require explicit ingredient labeling on all food products to help consumers avoid harmful ingredients. You may not know this, but the foods you consume today may contain hidden ingredients that can have serious consequences to your health. As someone who's careful about the ingredients I eat, especially when it comes to alcohol and other harmful substances, it's frustrating to see that ingredients aren't listed properly on the packages. Today, let's explore the problem with the FDA's food labeling, what caused it, and some potential solutions. Let's start by analyzing today's food labeling problems. The FDA's inadequate labeling requirements causes numerous problems. Its lack of representative labeling can have serious side effects for those with dietary preferences and health concerns. The first problem is that companies are allowed to use broad terminology rather than identifying specific ingredients. For example, they use natural flavorings and artificial ingredients instead of saying what's actually in their food. They claim this is so they can keep their ingredients proprietary or hidden from their competitors. But in reality, it's just a way for them to hide harmful ingredients from the eyes of a consumer. An example of this, as Kennedy states from Harvard University in 2024, is castoreum extract. Castoreum extract is used as a replacement for vanilla flavorings in ice cream. Now, at first glance, it may not seem like anything too crazy, but castoreum extract is beaver pea. I'm pretty sure nobody wants beaver pea in their ice cream. And if it was listed as what it actually was instead of a natural flavoring, then I'm pretty sure we would all be avoiding that product. Now, the second problem is that people with dietary concerns are unable to see what's exactly in their foods. As stated by the BBC in 2024, Jewish people cannot consume meat and dairy together. They must also avoid pork products. Ozzy from the American Halal Foundation in 2024 states that Muslims must also avoid pork products. A common pork product is lard. Now, this is listed as a natural flavoring, so it's really hard for Jews and Muslims to avoid this product, as it's not even listed in the label. Another example of this, as Irving states from Heifer International in 2021, is that vegans cannot consume carmine. Now, carmine is a coloring dye that's made from crushed beetles, but it's listed as a natural dye, which is why it's really hard for vegans to detect and therefore avoid. Now, the third problem is that companies lack transparency about the harmful ingredients that they use in our foods. As stated by Beeswold from the National Library of Medicine in 2012, a study was conducted that found a higher intake of beverages with sodium benzoate was directly linked with higher levels of ADHD in college students. The FDA knows about this, but they refuse to do anything about it. Now that we've looked at some problems, let's discuss why these problems even happen. These problems occur because the FDA has inadequate labeling requirements and poor consumer protection regulations. The FDA has insufficient labeling requirements. As stated in their own Code of Regulations in 2024, colorings added to butter, cheese, or ice cream does not need to be declared. This is a huge problem in the USA, as the most common coloring dyes are red 40, yellow 5, and yellow 6. These are carcinogens. That means they cause cancer. So you're telling me an ingredient that causes cancer doesn't need to be listed? That's kind of a concern for us who are buying the product. On top of that, it's unacceptable and undermines not only public trust, but also public safety. Their own Code of Regulations also states that minor additives do not need to be declared. This is a problem not only for the religious groups I stated earlier, but also those with allergies. They need to be confident that the food they're consuming does not have the ingredients they're trying to avoid. Now, the second problem is that the FDA has poor consumer protection regulations. As stated by Quinn from the Center for Public Integrity in 2015, the FDA has a GROSS clause. This stands for Generally Recognized as Safe. This grants companies the right to determine what they think is safe for us to consume. So you're telling me a company whose only objective is to increase their profits from year to year is allowed to determine what they think is safe for us to consume? I mean, we've already seen they include carcinogens among other harmful chemicals in our food. So it's clear this responsibility should be taken away from them and granted back to the FDA's review process. Now that we've looked at the source of these issues, let's discuss some potential solutions. There's multiple steps we can take, both at the federal and the personal level. At the federal level, the FDA should force companies to list all ingredients with percentages. and they should also ban all harmful chemicals from the market. According to graph released from Forbes in 2024, just last month, Costco had to recall all of their butter in Texas. This was because they forgot to mention it included milk. That's like forgetting to say paper is made from wood. It's quite frankly unacceptable, and honestly, the review process for the FDA should be strengthened. So how are we going to do this? Well, we can do this by increasing the fines and recalling products that are on the market that not only include mislabeling, but also harmful ingredients. These fines will help to raise the funding and therefore strengthen the review process that the FDA has to prevent such obvious things like milk being in butter. On the personal level, you can start by buying alternative ingredients that you recognize and understand. Now, as stated by Talbot from Forbes in 2021, consumers expect brands to cater to them. This means that as consumers stop buying products that include either harmful chemicals or ingredients that they don't know, companies are forced to make changes to that product. Now, some grocery stores that you can go to include Whole Foods, Aldi, and Trader Joe's. These grocery stores focus on providing quality ingredients with minimal broad terminology so you know exactly what you're consuming. Now, my plan will work because if the FDA implements their fines and recalls and consumers stop buying these products, companies will be forced to make drastic changes. According to Sean Guan from the American Journal of Preventive Medicine in 2019, food labeling influences industry response. What this means is as these consumers stop buying their products, and these companies are hit over and over again with recalls and constant fines, they're either going to change their ingredient list or completely remove these products from the market. Now, this is because they're losing their profit, which they care about the most, but also because they want to maintain brand loyalty and customer recognition. Now, I understand that food labeling may seem like a minor issue, but it's an issue of transparency and one that can have a serious consequence to our health. If we look 5,000 miles away across the Atlantic Ocean, we see the European Union. The EU forces all companies to disclose not only their ingredients, but also their percentages. They also ban them from using harmful chemicals. What this means is that the carcinogens and other coloring dyes that are allowed in the US market are banned from the EU. And these percentages of ingredients allow religious groups and other groups who have allergies to identify what's in their food and therefore avoid it accordingly. Now to see these impacts, we must act quickly. This is not only for the protection of our religious groups, but also for our own safety. Today, we've reviewed the problems, causes, and possible solutions of the FDA's improper labeling requirements. The FDA should require explicit ingredient labeling on all food products to help consumers with dietary restrictions and safety concerns. Is 10% the chance you're willing to take on your health? Imagine you're back in that grocery aisle. Are you still comfortable picking up that item, not knowing exactly what's inside of it, especially if it can contain ingredients that cause cancer? I would think not. It's time for us to stand up and demand food transparency. Thank you.